is Dandelion Song. So in a previous video I showed you how Chicago Cubs actually equals future in the simple and the English gematria, and then future in the Jewish gematria equals 591, which is a little bit the same as the 91 in the simple gematria. Well, in this episode I want to show you the meaning of this symbol right here, and then we're also going to look at the gematria just of UBS and the 1121. Let me show you. I want to come over here to the let me pause and find it. Yes, so here on the Wikipedia for Back to the Future 2, we see that it was released November 11th, and this number has been suspiciously around in a lot of different codes, from asteroid codes to the Ankara twin bombing. I found it also in the Dr. Keshi earthquake predictions. He's predicting a giant earthquake that's going to kill 20 million or 20 billion people this Saturday. And then in that article, which I don't have handy to show you, but it has highlighted blue parts. So one of the highlighted blue parts was the Saturday, October 17th, which is in 2 days. So I ran that through the gematria counter, and it equals 187 and 1122, and then in the Jewish gematria equals 1166. Now Chicago Cubs, actually Congrats Cubs, the tweet by Barack Obama has 142, 852, and 666. So there's a 66 going on here. Then the Chicago Cubs tweeted out something, good dog fly the W, that's a 166 number, and that also has some other codes in it that are we've seen repeatedly having to do with nuclear explosion or EMP warnings. So I just thought that was interesting, has a tie-in to the big earthquake. I was gonna stay away from all the doom and stuff. I think that this earthquake warning is mostly about the code. It's not about anything real, and I get that because of Dr. Keshi's name has the exact gematria of names that I have seen as the main player in some of these CIA type of psyops. Well, so here we have 108. I hope my sound's working okay. I have my microphone set up to hopefully not have the magnetic feedback going on. Well, this number right here is the number that has been active in Oregon. We've seen the 33 active a lot in a few other stories. There's a few ways to reflex this number. So this would be a 223 in the reflexive, which is a skull and bones number, as in 322, that has to do with the Mecca sacrifice on 923. This could also, in the anagram of this is 323, which is Lucifer. So they like this number in all of its different things. Like they like the 322, the 332, the 233, any kind of permutation of this number that you can think of, they have something for it, because the 323 is the Jewish gematria for Lucifer, the 232 is the Jewish gematria for Oregon, and both of those things match English in the simple and the English gematria. So this is a spiritual number too. Well, anyway, I'm only just going to get into this a little bit, but I wanted to show you this symbol, because this is the symbol that Michael J. Fox sees. I haven't run any of those names. I wish my computer was so powerful I could open up 76 tabs of just gematria, because I can only open 5 at a time. Well, I've talked to you about this symbol before being not only the Holy See, but it is the power symbol. The power symbol that you see on everything that's electronic anywhere. And it's also the Q. Now, I've told you in my videos how the Freemasons worship Q, and they worship Phi. This Q sign here, it's not only just a power symbol to them, but it's the right. It symbolically represents they feel they have the right to interrupt destiny. Destiny would be Phi. And that's why we see the 1618 and the 816 numbers, which is the Bride of Christ numbers. And so by interrupting Phi, I think they actually mean that they have a lot of death of the Bride of Christ type of ideas, and I think they actually mean that they can interrupt that. Well, So down here below I have the simple gematria, which is a 21 and 2, which makes it 23, and then this would be the raw sign. So that in itself is significant, that they put these 3 letters in as the power symbol. So you almost think of this as, so if you think of phi, oh wait, I'm acting like I can't draw on here. So if you think of phi as in Philadelphia, it looks like this, in which case the phallus has gone all the way through. So this is actually the map of Philadelphia, and this is the Delaware, which is the first state. It asks you to be aware. Almost nobody is aware. The awareness. So the Q is just part way. So this is the power symbol. This is the Holy See. You could also see it as the Chalice. So this is a sex type of idea right here. It's a conception, and that's the whole concept. When you press the power button, you are starting life, basically. So it all goes together. You can see how symbolically this goes out. This goes out in every direction. Well, that would make the UBS, or the or you think of it as the USB, or the bus, which I'm also starting to think that they think of the train as the phallus because of the train bombing recently in Ankara. Not only does the train kind of look like a phallus, symbolically, but they actually have that on the map of Orion over there in Ankara on Orion's phallus. So if you think that's crazy, you might want to go see that video. It's not too long ago. It has Ankara and Turkey and Orion probably in the title. So just think about a USB. That is also a type of a sexual sort of socket kind of thing that happens. Oh, I wrote the wrong thing. Bus. There we go. Or a submarine, right? Goes into the sea. Okay, well, if you add all this together, it adds to 42. Zachary K. has been talking about the certain meanings of this number. He also talks about this being the meaning of life number, and I have found this to be more of the meaning of life number than anything else, but you can check out some of Zachary K.'s work for his view. He has a lot of Cub, I think he has a lot of Cub videos up right now too. In the menorah gematria, which is what I would call a pi, it's a pi-based gematria, and since they worship pi, I feel like this is a very important gematria, and I have a menorah playlist so that you can understand what this looks like from the beginning. But basically, it puts the 13 letters of the alphabet like this, because it's 26, and yeah, so 26 is the God number. So that's 13 twice. So there's a lot of reasons to pay attention to the 1313 gateways that we've seen. I hope my microphone is doing a good job. Because it's the MM, this is the 13th letter, and this is on the Georgia Guidestones. The 13 is also a BB, because if you smash the 1 and the 3 together, it's a B, so it's a Barack Obama. It's also a 4-4. But last but not least, it symbolizes the menorah division of the alphabet, which tells you a lot about this code. Now, it goes like this, where this is 7. Yeah, actually I can't remember all these specific numbers here, but this would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G here, and this would be a T, and these are the 2 letters of God, because this is the C, the G is the C with the mouth opening tool, or the 7. This is the kingdom of God right here. So the kingdom of God opened the mouth here, or the mouth opening tool of the ancient Egyptians, makes a G, and equals a 7. And then the T is the cross behind the eyes. You see the royals holding their globus cruciger a lot. This symbolizes the dome-shaped cosmology of our Earth being the eye, and that's why the eye numbers are so important. The 35 equals the UN. Well, anyway, this is the globus cruciger, and it has a cross always on it. This is actually the cross behind the eyes, and this is the location of the pineal gland. And so when Christ was crucified, that was symbolic of crucifying the pineal gland, or your inner knowing, because that's what Joshua symbolized. He didn't follow the scripture. He taught with authority because he had his own pineal gland awakened. And I do believe there was a such thing as a righteous teacher, a teacher of righteousness. I just don't know if they told us the truth about anything else, or any of the specifics about his life and times. I don't know if that was really his name, but I know his name wasn't Jesus, because that's Jesus, and that name didn't exist in the Hebrew. It was changed in the translation to Greek. So that's why I think this. That's why I've been using this menorah geometry, but I want to also start calling it a pi geometry, because I feel like people will get feel like, religious type of like, okay, well, that's menorah, I'm not going to pay attention to that. Well, they do worship pi, and this is a pi-based geometry, and the reason why is because if you add, I need to bring up the picture to show you, but if you add the letter correspondence of these, it adds up to 22, and it's divided by 7, and 22 divided by 7 is pi. It's an approximation of pi. And tetragrammaton, which is the god of Abraham, who asked him to sacrifice the child, is pi divided by 7 twice. One of it kind of looks like little, it's like a yod, and one of them's bigger. And this would be pi divided by 7 twice, because there are letter associations on the top 13 and on the bottom 13. I don't know if I did the right number here. Well, in the menorah gematria, this equals 14, and we know how important this is in terms of the twin towers. We're allowed to stay up 28 years. I'm looking at my notes because I saw that something actually equals the twin towers, and I hope I wrote it down. Something important having to do with the Cubs. Something with the Cubs actually equals the twin towers. I'll find it too. I'll find it and bring it to you later. Well, other important associations having to do with the 14 is that this is supposedly the number of body parts that they tore, that Set, who was the Typhon, or the Dark Lord, tore Osiris into 14 parts. And Osiris, as I've studied recently, didn't really put all this together before, so we're kind of learning this as we go along together. I'm not saying I'm an expert in this. It's supposed to be spelled this way. Oh no, it's supposed to be spelled this way, but I think that it's actually supposed to be spelled this way with a US on the bottom, because this is the 40, which is the body. Well, anyway, this equals Orion, and Orion has to do with the World Trade Center. Orion has to do with Ankara, Turkey, and there are a lot more things to learn about Orion. Well, so that is the menorah geometry, and it does show us some interesting things. Plus, it's an 8-8 mirror. 8 is originally a Christ number, because this would be 4 pi. Each pi is 25, and that would be a full 100, or a cent, or 100 cents. Okay, let's go on to the next idea. So running UBS through the geometric counter to understand what the phallus of this symbolism actually means, if we find that it matches, let's look at the numbers. First of all, it does match 42, which is, yeah, that's what I found. And then we have a 25 mirror. So this is kind of like a Venus pi here. See, so there's a 25 that way, which is pi because that's p plus I. And there's a mirror here too. Now the 52 is their idea of a quantum random frequency generator. And that's really the world that we live in. We live in a quantum random frequency generator. And then, so the 52 is kind of the idea of the magician, the one who collapses the wave on purpose using Q, using pi, or using what they think of pi as holiness. So they think of themselves as holy in their ability to affect destiny and to collapse the wave like a magician does. I do believe there's good magicians and dark magicians, so we don't need to throw the whole magician, baby out with the bathwater. We just need to investigate these concepts here. Well, here we have 29, which is, this is basically a compact form of writing 9/11. You can see how that works right there, because it's the 2, which is the Twin Towers, and it's the 9. And the 9 and the 11 is also the black and the white, and I think, did I write that over here? Yeah. So blue equals 40, and that's why the Philadelphia train wreck happened on the 40, exactly on the 40 coordinate, and that's a sign that it's the U.S. coming off the tracks, and U.S. does happen to equal 40. And most other applications, since I've been watching the code for a while, when they refer to the body of the people, not just the Americans, but the body of the people, they usually use the number 40. Red equals 9. Let me move this so you can see. In the center there's the star, the pentacle, and then on the outside is the 8 and the 4, and this is the sign of the ham of Abraham. These are the lowest of the slaves. So Abraham was the breeder of the slaves. That was the real covenant, was that he was going to breed slaves. This is a word for edible slaves, and this is why Buckingham also has edible slave in the word. But Buckingham also has the mouth, and I just did another video about the river and the mouth and the importance of the mouth. The mouth actually equals God to them, and you see this only by studying the Menorah Gematria. So if you study the Menorah Gematria, you notice more secrets about the mouth of a river, the idea of a river, and then bucking. This is the root word of bucking for Buckingham Palace. It means goblin's mouth. Guess what it's eating? It's eating people. Edible slaves. So this is the lowest level of the slave, and this is also the word for duck. And this is why they consider doctors to be so gullible and easy to manipulate. They can manipulate them using money. Even against their own ethics, doctors will, there are many good insiders now who are working undercover in that field, but the idea of the doctor, and the reason why they're given that name, is because they are recognized. And you will find out, you might think you're special, like a black athlete or a doctor, you might think you're special, but if you look at the codes that are put on your group of people, they are disrespectful. Doc is a disrespectful code. It means that you are manipulative, and you can be maneuvered through your ethics by money. And black athletes have the 95 and the 59, and the 42 is a slave number for black athletes as well. And I think actually all athletes, but especially black athletes, that number. So red is about the ego and the lowest level of the slave, right there. And so the red and the white, the reason why we have the stripes, the 13 stripes, has to do with the alphabet. Actually, I don't know how many stripes we have now. I should probably know that. Anyway, white adds up. Oh, let me scroll on this. Here we go. So white equals, I think I made a mistake in some of my earlier calculations, because the T and the E is 25. This is a pi number. The very center word is HI. This is Hawaii. This is the final state. That's also pi. So the idea of America is that the final state is supposed to be holiness. And it's supposed to be, there's a difference between these two kind of pies. This is the pi that interrupts phi. Phi is 1.618, and you can see that it's missing a 17 right there. So if you study symbolic numbers in religion, which I'm only starting to study, you can see that they would say that pi interrupts phi. Well, so we have two pi's in here, plus we have a 23. This is the idea, this W is the idea of the leg of the bull, or the 7 stars of the Pleiades, because this is how they drew it on the star map in ancient Egypt. And everything about our world is basically based on ancient Egypt. Well, so the outer part of this word, the outer valence, is the agent, and in this case it's an agent of good, because the center is supposed to be holiness. Now, we can see that when they interrupt pi, this is not always a holy action. However, it looks like that the way the language was designed, it was supposed to be a purified action. Well, anyway, if you add all this together, it equals 64, which is 8 times 8, and this is the Christ. This is the Christ idea, the double loop of infinite time. This is a Catholic connection, and I know that now it's become kind of a Nazi number, but all of our ancient symbols have been dirtied by modern Illuminati. Originally, the all-seeing eye was also not a dirty symbol. So we have to learn to distinguish. Of course, they're going to take the symbols and make them dirty so that you will become confused. It just means you have to think for yourself. All right, let's see. Oh, okay, so that was a win. And then this is the World Series. I want to point out to you that there's a 4 here and a 7 up here. This is the July 4th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You could also multiply that times 5 for 35, which is the I and the EYE. And then this would be 20. And I do have the symbolism of 20. It's just not handy. So win and World Series are different, and they're written in blue. Sweep with the 10 right next to it. So this is win in the simple and the English gematria, and this would be a double, a 23. So this is the idea. A win is the idea of mating, the combination of 23 and 23 chromosomes. So this also equals Chicago. So win equals Chicago, chaos equals Chicago, dove equals Chicago. I've seen a lot of doves. Doves usually symbolize Isis. Isis is I was just reading in an Egyptian symbolism book that I want to bring to you more about some of these ancient Egyptian gods and what they mean and what that means for us today, since we see Isis drawn all over the world and the dove drawn all over the world. I feel like we need to, dig deeper and understand more of this. My son and I just watched the Firm, and we saw how Tom Cruise, though well-meaning, was manipulated due to his ambition and became, very endangered. And that was a pretty interesting movie about how to pull your way out of a really bad situation like that. Tom Cruise, I know, is a complete insider. But anyway, the Firm equals win equals chaos equals Chicago. World Series has these triple threes, just the same as Chicago Cubs has the 3 3s. These numbers have been coming up in almost everything that we analyze lately. The 1 3 3, but this one has actually 3 3s, so that's pretty amazing. In the English gematria, World Series equals Freedom Tower. I think that's worth noting, and also Mount Zion. I think that's worth noting, especially since Mount Zion is a 9/11 gateway. See the gateway? The 9/11 gateway? So real quick back here to win, because it's 949 in the Jewish gematria, and because Oregon has been in the news lately and has these, also Lucifer and Oregon share this simple and this English gematria, it is worth noting here. And also the 949 is could be seen as a 1313, which I just got finished talking about that importance. Joshua in the Dead Sea Scrolls is the 14th century BC teacher of righteousness. Really one of the teacher of righteousness that was recorded before the Nicene Council got a hold of all of the scripture and edited it. Okay, so back to the win gematria, because I noticed that in code equals win in the simple and English gematria, and it equals Greek in the Jewish gematria. So let's come back up here to Greek. It's interesting that people say, oh, that's all Greek to me, and that Greek equals encode. Let me find it. There, Greek equals encode. So These are vastly different calculators, so when things equal, like if Greek equals in code on all three gematries, that is really worth noticing. Okay, so just to wind this up, Chicago equals gold and Ra and Adolf in the Jewish gematria, and I think those are really important and central concepts for us to understand. All right, well, I'll bring you more about this. Hope you like this, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.